Well, hello, welcome back. Today we're looking at another one of my basses. This is the Epiphone Alan Woody Signature Rumblecat bass. Rumblecat, because it is based on their line of Rumblecat guitars. This is actually the same body shape that the Epiphone Rumblecat hollow body guitar uses. And that's is pretty much where the similarity ends, other than they're both Epiphone. But who was Alan Woody, you may ask first? Hopefully you're aware of him, but maybe you're not. But Alan Woody was a founding member of the band Gov't Mule, of which I'm a huge fan, so it was only natural for me to buy his bass, which I've been meaning to do for almost 20 years now, and finally have. But Alan was quite the bassist. He originally played with the Artemis Pyle Band, which put him in the radar of Allman Brothers, which he joined on their last great reunion in '89, the Seven Turns album, which hooked them up with Warren Haynes. They recorded a few albums together, and then decided to branch off on their own and form the ultimate power trio, gov't Mule, with drummer Matt Apps. And if you're familiar at all with gov't Mule, you know that is exactly what they did. Now, gov't Mule is a four-piece band that is known for playing when they're allowed to play. They play out quite a bit and play almost any song in any style, and plus they have their own catalog of original songs. But when they first started out, they were pretty much raw power trio. The first two albums, gov't Mule and Dose, really highlight that. Very few overdubs, just about only the three of them going out. There's a few live albums from that time period, one called Live at the Roseland, and another one called the Georgia Box Set, which really show, if you appreciate good blues based power rock trios, you want to check that out. You're doing yourself a disservice if you don't know that. Starting with the third album, Life Before Insanity, which was Woody's last album, before he unfortunately passed away due to some complications with drugs. It's never quite been established what it was, but they started mixing in more keyboards. Danny Lewis, who's now a permanent member of the band, started playing with them and whatnot. But very interesting musical journey, and really Life Before Insanity really shows the shift from their earlier power trio and into what the current band is. But I digress on that. But Alan Woody was in addition to he being a awesome bass player, he also was a bit of a bass collector. He was famous, either one, for his bass collection. There was a spread he did in the late '90s in Bass Player magazine where he's laying among his bass collection, which is just incredibly massive. He had sold guitars at Groon's Guitars, which is one of the top vintage guitar dealers in the country down in Nashville. So that's how he made his inroads into. That's actually where he met Warren Haynes originally, before they even played together in the band, selling them guitars at Groon's. So he knew his stuff. He was typically known to play Gibson basses. He played Thunderbird's basses mostly with the Allman Brothers, but he also had Warwick 6 strings. He played Gibson 5 strings. With gov't Mule, he played those basses as well. He usually played a lot of Epiphones as well. He famously played an Epiphone reverse Thunderbird 5-string in surf green, and or teal, or I forget what exact color it was. They call it. I think it might have been teal. I'd love to get my hands on one of those. Those are very rare, and the necks are possibly large on them, but it's a very cool bass. So and typically the Gibson basses he most commonly played were EB3s, which is the Jack Bruce style bass. It looks like an SG guitar with a big humbucker here and a small humbucker at the bridge. and Gibson EB2s, which kind of looked like an ES35 guitar. It was a double cutaway hollow body with just a big huge humbucker here at the bridge. And those were the biggest ones that he was known to play. And in the 90s, I'm not sure if he initiated it or if it came from the other side, but he started to work with Epiphone on developing a signature model. And Gibson was weird in the 90s. They didn't seem to really care too much about bass. If you watched my Jack Cassidy review, you know Jack Cassidy actually took an old Gibson model and went to Gibson and said, hey, I want to make this better. Will you work with me? And Gibson sent him to Epiphone. So that's why the Jack Cassidy signature model is an Epiphone bass. So much like that, Alan Woody's signature bass is an Epiphone. So as I mentioned, it starts with the Rumble Cat body, which is a chambered mahogany body, and it's a short scale bass. The typical bass scale is 34 inches. This is a 30.5 scale, short scale, which puts it into play for a lot of smaller players. It's more guitar-like and easier to play certain figures on it. I like it myself because being a big guy, even though it's a short scale bass, the body is large, and where the bridge is set inward from the body, it makes the reach a little bit more normal, more similar to what I'm used to in a longer scale bass. So it's not too far off in size from a standard scale bass. Mahogany neck. It has gold-plated hardware, Goldtone style tuners, and the dreaded Gibson three-point bridge. Excuse me. It has what they call NYT humbuckers in it, which are gold-plated. They have exposed pole pieces. I don't know if they're adjustable, to be honest. I probably should check that. I believe they are. I have not touched them. And then 2-volume and a master tone control. Very straightforward. It kind of mimics a couple different basses. Now, obviously, the Gibson style had the huge, what they call a mudbucker at the neck position. You may or may not know, but the closer to the bridge, the tone of the bass is thumpier and lower, and the closer to the neck, excuse me, the tone of the bass is thumpier and lower, and the closer to the bridge you play, it's higher, and so the pickup placement corresponds to that well. The pickup is closer to the neck, it's lower and thuddier. If the pickup is closer to the bridge, it's higher and more nasally. That's why the P bass is a little more centrally located, because that's trying to get where what's the so-called sweet spot, which is where Music Man basses thinks they have the sweet spot with the location of their pickup, and they're a little bit more toward the center and back here, which supposedly give you more full range. So that affects the tone of it, but then also the style of pickups also affects a lot too. So it's a combination of the placement and the pickups that create the tone. But in a general sense, you know, the closer to the neck, the deeper the tone. That being said, what else can we say? So a lot of people do not like the 3-point bridge because it's a little bit difficult to adjust. The adjustments for the intonation are here underneath the strings, and there are only 3 points, hence the 3-point. So it's a little trickier to set the string height. You can't set individual string heights. You have to try to play with it. Now, from the intonation side, this bass wasn't totally on when I got it, and I changed the strings because I used the Dario XLs, round rounds almost exclusively. And so I put those on here, and I had to re-intonate. And what I can say is, if you do have a 3-point bridge, if you get a small screwdriver like I have here, it fits right in, and it fits right under the string, and it's not that hard. It's a little bit of a pain, but it's not that hard. You can just easily twist here, get in there, and make your adjustments to get the intonation on. Whatever. Typically, it's set and forget. So once you get the instrument set up, you don't need to do a lot of modifications. That being said, I can understand wanting to have the ability to make more adjustments, and a couple companies make great drop-in replacements. One is by a company called Hipshot, who's been around for over 40 years, making bass hardware. They make one of the things called the Goldtone Bridge. It makes it easier so you can adjust the string height. That's another problem here. You can't after doing setups, if you make a string action really low, you're not going to get it really low with a 3-point bridge easily. But the hip shot replacement will, and also a company called gov't makes an incredible adjustable bridge. Great bridges. I currently don't have any basses that have a gov't bridge, but it has a funky proprietary cam system that allows you to adjust the height and easy adjust intonation and whatnot. So I have 2 basses with the 3-point bridge, the Jack Cassidy and the Woody. I haven't changed them, but I might, and we'll see. The one gripe I do have about the hardware on this bass is these tuners. They Goldtone knockoffs. They are very disappointing. There was a lot of slack and play in the tuners originally. I did have to tighten there are screws here. I did tighten them up, but of course as you adjust the tuning, it tends to change the tension on those too, so they got a little loose. I can say though that the bass does stay in tune pretty well, so there's not a whole lot of fiddling around. But I am most likely, as soon as I get things squared away, going to be swapping out the tuners on this. I had to do that in the Jack Cassidy too. Different style of tuners, but also very poor quality. It's a $500 bass, which you actually get a lot for that. The build quality outside of the tuners, because the bridge is high quality, even though it's a pain in the neck to deal with. Like I said, the tuners are kind of crap, but the binding on the neck is very nice. The frets, are seated very well. There's no issues there. There's no obvious blemishes or anything on the instrument. So the quality is outstanding. It is made in China, but really, other than the cheaping out on the tuners, I really can't complain about what this is. This is a 2000 model. I think it's a Rosewood Fretboard. I forgot to double check. I may have to update because Rosewood, the last few years, Rosewood has been hit and miss, and they've used wood called Indian Laurel. Looking at the grain, this one might be Indian Laurel, but I have to double check. But regardless, it doesn't really affect the tone at all. So, how's the tone sound? Well, obviously with the placement of the pickups, I started talking about the pickups earlier. So this kind of mimics the placement of the Gibson Mudbucker. But it is definitely not a mudbucker. It's much more of a full range type of humbucker. And this one here, it's closer to like the placement of what an original P bass was. And the only bass, the common bass that is similar to this is Hofner made a version of their violin bass that Paul McCartney used. And Paul McCartney had one, and that's the only other bass I know of that had a similar setup to this. And so this is kind of a combination of a few different styles of the Hofner and the Gibson with a chambered body, so there's a little bit of resonance to the body, and then the placement of the pickups. And knowing there's a lot of government mule videos and the like out there, and you see they would do acoustic sets, and primarily on the acoustic sets, Woody would use a Hofner Beetle bass. So I don't know, but I'm curious. Maybe he was trying to do something similar to what Jack Cassidy was doing with his bass, to get him something that can hold its own both in an electric setting and when they're playing softer type acoustic. I don't know. I could be wrong, but this is definitely a bass you can rock out to. I must say I had a great pleasure yesterday. This is September 14th, 2020, when I'm recording this. So I'm sure when hopefully it's posted the same day. But on the September 13th, I played a benefit in Newton, Mass. A gentleman named Billy Kay, who's a big fixture on the Waltham Metro West music scene, passed away, and we had a benefit for Waltham Public Schools music program in his name, and to honor his memory. A lot of great bands playing. I got to play as well with one of the bands I'm in called Watch City Band. And the back line supplied by a great local bass player named Tim Fox Gibson was a Mark bass Tube 800, so 800 watt into a AccuGroove El Guapo. AccuGroove was a big company back in the late 90s, early 2000s that made these massive bass cabinets that had multiple drivers and were able to handle tons of watts. And holy cow, did this bass sound actually absolutely massive. No one told me to turn down, and I didn't turn down. I just cranked everything up and went for it, and nobody complained. Actually got some compliments. So, but man, this Woody was an interesting person. There's a song called Banks of the Deep End that Warren wrote in memory of him, and it was a whole project they did where they brought in a bunch of other bass players. But you couldn't hire 25 men to do what the man could do. Just the sound of his walk and split the whole damn town in two. His lines from that bass, and oh boy, I felt that playing this bass through that setup. But anyways, let's get to some tones. So first off, at the beginning, off the top, I played, for those who may or may not know, that was the pretty much basically the riff of a song called Thorazine Shuffle by Gov't Mule. Very prominent bass part. The bass part basically carries the whole song, and that was I did that with both pickups full on, tone all the way up. Woody didn't record that song with this bass. He used actually a Rickenbacker, which if you listen to the recording, it doesn't sound anything like a Rickenbacker, but that's another story. But this is both pickups full on, tone up all the way. I am playing through my Mesa Boogie, I can't see it, Mesa Boogie WD-800, which I will be doing a review on shortly. Flat, EQ set flat, and to try to give a best approximation as I can. So, let's go fingerstyle first. Both pickups, full on, full tone. Pretty decent, usable sound. Now, there are limitations to this bass. I wouldn't imagine someone who does a lot of playing having this as their only bass. If you just play one type of sound and with one type of band, that may work. I don't. I play with a numerous different types of bands, and also I have quite a collection of instruments to provide different sounds. So this is an excellent sound palette to have. So let's roll the tone back about halfway. Little denser, and then tone all the way off. Definitely in the mud category there. Let's get the tone back up. We will now go with the neck pickup, full on. Oops. Now, if you notice, definitely wouldn't call that muddy. So definitely not a mudbucker. Much more full range and a big open sound, which is nice. It gives you that thump that's there. A little picking there. Woody was a pick player exclusive, an extraordinary pick player. I'll mention a little bit more of that in a minute. But it gives you a good, decent, full range sound. Not too muddy. Very nice. There's another Epiphone bass. You'll see a video of it. The Epiphone viola bass. I did a video that's, for some reason, my most watched video, which is amazing. I got over 2,400 views on that. Great. That has similar pickups. I think they're slightly different, though, because the pickup at the neck on that, it was just really hard to tame the low end on it. Great bass, really light, but oh boy, did that just really pump out the low end. Not a problem with this bass. Much more controlled. Let's turn the tone down halfway. fret nice. Gives a little bit more oomph. Not too bad. And let's get the tone rolled all the way off. Full, punchy, not muddy, still got definition going there, but decent, very decent sound. Now we'll go to the middle pickup. Tone full on. Very nice. Again, a bit more full range, a little rolled off, maybe MIDI, I guess, much more mid-present. So the two pickups together really play off each other well, but I think a lot of work went into figuring out exactly where to place these two pickups. But you get a very nice full sound out of that here. Tone halfway. Again, very nice, usable sound, and tone roll all the way off. A little bit more on the muddy side. Here's both pickups again. So, not a one-trick pony. Limited sounds, but still very usable. From a slap standpoint, I don't slap well. Pickup placement does not lend itself well to slapping. But you can do it. You can slap on anything if you try hard enough. I mentioned Woody was a pick player extraordinaire. It's one of the strangest debates on. You have bass players talking about pick versus no pick, and how some people who only play with their fingers have this holier than thou thought on it. Hey, it's a bass guitar. Guitars are played with picks. You can play with a pick. You can play with your fingers. Whatever makes the sound. I mean, some of the greatest bass players of all time, Paul McCartney, Chris Squire, you know, they use picks exclusively. John Entwistle used anything. He used fingers, picks, and slaps to play. I mean, it really doesn't matter. But Woody did play exclusively with a pick. And the design of this bass, too, with the pickups being here, really lends itself well to picky playing, because you play down here, you're not hitting the pickups. If you want to mute, your hand falls naturally on the bridge. It's easy to mute. Great setup for picking. So if you want to play with a pick, you want to play with your fingers, either one works. These surrounds are very firm. You can use them as finger rests. So, highly recommended. Now, the one problem that does exist with a bass like this, with a chambered body, which is very light, I did not weigh this bass, but I think it's somewhere around 7 pounds or so. You may have an issue on the strap with a neck dive, with a typical, woven strap, whatever. Yeah, it's going to dive. What I recommend to anybody is to get a strap like this. This is a Franklin strap. This is their Franklin bass strap. You can get online. It is incredible. There's this slightly perforated leather here. I use this on the Woody. I use it on my Jack Cassidy, and you do not get neck dive. It holds the bass in place very well, so I highly recommend getting a nice high quality strap like this. Like I said, this is a Franklin. I know it's available on Zounds and American Musical Supply. It's around 80 bucks. Maybe you'll find it on Amazon as well, but a great strap, and it does not it eliminates and reduces neck dive on any instrument. So get yourself a high quality strap. Your bass won't neck dive, and it also spreads out the weight and gives it much more comfort. So I recommend it. Not that a 7-pound bass is gonna weigh you down too much, but yeah, and the kick in a little EQ here from the WD. So yeah, Alan Woody, signature bass from Epiphone. Please feel free to leave any comments down below, any questions, hit me up. I'll expand on things. I'd love to see this video get up to 2,400 views like my Epiphone Viola one, which is me basically just sitting there with the camera oriented in vertical mode on a snowy night, just jamming off because I was bored because my gig was canceled. Don't know what results in YouTube views. Of course, this video is coming up on over 25 minutes, so that may reduce my views as well. So who knows? But please throw a like, subscribe if you can, comment, check out my other videos. I will attach a playlist of my other reviews, and keep your eye out for more reviews to come. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you out rocking, hopefully.